Dr. Breus, you're going to start today with the correlation between our age
Yes.
and our ability to get a good night's sleep.
Absolutely. So it turns out that there are different things that will happen throughout the course of our lifetime that can have pretty big effects on our sleep, and some of it becomes age dependent. So when you're in your 20s and 30s, it's usually something behavioral, like I'm staying up really late because I'm going out with my friends or watching my favorite TV shows.
Because of your social life.
Right,
Yeah.
because of your social life. But then as we get older, it has a tendency to turn a little bit more medical and or medicine oriented. So if you have something going on in your life, so later in life for women, menopause might be something that could be disruptive of their sleep. Or you might have a health condition like fibromyalgia or something along those lines. Those don't seem to happen until much later in life, and that's what seems to affect sleep then.
But you were saying that your goal for yourself is 6.5 hours a night.
That's correct. Everybody has a different sleep need in terms of the amount of sleep that they need, and that's also based on the quality of the sleep that they're getting. So if you get really good quality sleep, you don't actually need 8 hours. Let's be super clear. 8 hours is a myth. Right? Not everybody needs 8 hours. I'm a 6 to 6.5 hour sleeper. I go to bed at midnight. I get up around 6:30. That works for me because of the consistency of my sleep schedule.
And consistency is also a great factor, I would
Absolutely.
imagine. Right. But we're going to use, as we often do on our show, some of our own viewers at 3 different ages to get some practical advice from the doctor while we have Dr. Breus with us. Joel, what is your sleep issue?
So I'm 27. I work in real estate in Manhattan. My schedule's crazy, constantly moving.
And inconsistent, I'd imagine. If it's real estate, your hours are constantly changing.
All the time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I go out with my friends, we're out till late.
Yep.
And I struggle to get to sleep early, and I'm constantly waking up in the middle of the night. And is there anything I can do to not feel that way?
Right, to get himself on more of a schedule since his life is kind of erratic.
Yeah, so the answer is yes. All right, so that's the good news, and it's actually reasonably straightforward. So remember back not too long ago when I launched my book, actually from your show.
That's right, from this show.
From this show, we talked about something called chronotypes. So for folks out there who might not remember, chronotypes are a scientific term, but they really mean things like early bird versus night owl. So I discovered 4 different chronotypes. First is something called a lion. That replaces the early bird. These are self-starters, early morning people, like they get up at like 4:30. Next are bears. So bears are kind of in the middle. Bears are people who have a normal sleep-wake pattern. They kind of get up around 7. They go to bed around 10:30. They seem to be most alert in the mid-morning hours. The next one is where I think Joel falls into category, and that's the wolves. So wolves are night people, which I think is more along the lines of who you are. So you're most alert more from noon until 2 p.m. and then again in the later evening.
Right, you
probably
hit
like
your
to go to
stride
bed.
in the afternoon,
Right.
and then at night you're like, ah!
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's me. I guess I'm a wolf too.
Yeah, you are definitely a wolf. And then there's what's called dolphins. And so dolphins are my people who have difficult sleep. They have light sleep patterns. They're all over the place. They like to get up early, but they're usually self-diagnosed insomniacs.
This is my sister, actually.
So if people want to learn what their chronotype is, head on over to my quiz at thepowerofwhenquiz.com.
And we'll
have
link
that on
to
the
it
website.
on our site too.
Yep.
Sure.
But we figured out that your chronotype is a wolf. So that's number 1. But for folks out there who don't know what their chronotype is, an easy thing that you can do is take your morning wake-up time. So for me, let's take 6:30, right, and count back 7.5 hours. So why 7.5 hours, Michael? The average sleep cycle is 90 minutes. The average person has 5 of those. 5 times 90 is 450 minutes, which is 7.5 hours.
I gotcha.
So that's the place to start. Okay. Now you asked me before, but Michael, you go to bed at midnight and you wake up at 6:30. That's not 7.5 hours. Why do you get less while everybody else gets more? Because of my consistency, I actually started at 7.5 hours and it slowly has shrunk. What your issue is you're going to bed too early, more than likely, right? Because your brain isn't ready to do that. So what my suggestion to you would be, what time do you normally go to bed now?
11.
Right, so that's way too early for a wolf. I would say you're probably needing to go to bed at midnight, because I'm a wolf and that's when I go to bed, or maybe even later.